all of a sudden we're gone again. Hello, good morning. Oh, no, not good morning. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. I tell you, yesterday, the heat, I was boiling up, but I'm kind of calmed down here now. So I've got some water, I've got some Coke, and I'm happy, chappy. Now, I tell you what, I have got, what do they call you? They call you, what's your first name?
Karina.
I'm I get people's names totally wrong here.
Karina.
Yes.
Karina.
Anyway, Le, Le, Lena, and where'd you come from?
I come from Montreal, Quebec, Canada.
Canada. Right. Okay.
Oh,
Brilliant.
yes. On the
Last
east,
time.
yes.
Last time. Brilliant.
I'm,
Very good. Okay.
yes.
Tell everybody about yourself.
Yes. Well, about myself in general or about the stroke right away?
Just carry on. Tell us about
Okay,
what you
excellent,
do. About.
excellent. Yes, yes. So my name is Karina Lemire and I'm 48 years old. I was 25 when I had my stroke. And as ironically as it sounds, I have a bird in the background. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
carry on.
sorry.
Carry
Please.
on.
Yes. Um, yes. Mm, I was 25 when I had the stroke. Um, but I'll get into that a little in a minute. Um, it was funny because for many, many years I was in survival mode. I simply
Right.
wanted to be the best that I could be, and I was always conscious, can I do this? Should I do this? And then as I became more and more independent, that is where my podcast came about. A little less than a year ago, I started my podcast in the hopes of helping myself, in the hopes that by helping myself, by helping others, I'm actually helping myself. And to my surprise, turns out that my podcast is number 7. Yours is number 3. Mine is number 7 on the 15 most popular podcast, which tells me that the stroke was not as bad as as it seemed, maybe because it led me here. It led me, gave me the chance to meet all of you guys. So, like I said, I was 25 years old and I was newly married for a couple of years, and my daughter was 16 months at the time. And I was actually back to my pre pregnancy weight and better. Um, I was working out for a Miss Fitness contest. So it was 5, 6 days a week. I was really good. I was doing good, but I was constantly dizzy. I was seeing gold stars all the time. I was feeling nauseous very often and very migraines, headaches, but constantly, constantly. And I guess as a busy mom, I thought it was normal. You know, working out so much and being a busy mom and being a new wife and having a very busy social life. I thought it was normal. And I remember on Saturday, March 20th of 1999, I said to my husband, we lived across the street from the gym. And I said, I'm going to go to the gym. So he stayed with our daughter. And when I leave, when I come back, you can go to work. And I went to the gym and I did an overhead exercise. Very important to precise because I have a brainstem stroke, which is at the base of the neck, at the base of the head, really. So as I'm doing the overhead exercise, I guess I banged the dumbbell, and I immediately felt pain, and I could not continue. And I was leaving, and I remember the owner of the gym saying, "You're leaving already?" As it hadn't been 20 minutes I was there. And I said, "Yeah, I hurt myself. I'm not feeling good." And I went back home across the street, feeling at this point like a marshmallow, like a melting marshmallow. I walked up the 4 flights of stairs to the condo, and as I walked in, my husband says, "Oh my God, you don't look good. What's going on?" And I said, "I think I'm going to be sick." And immediately I went to the bathroom, and I was being sick and sick and sick, but nothing was coming up. Nothing was there. At this point, I don't know, maybe I did this 20, 30 minutes. And seriously, I was in pain. I was in pain because there was nothing left inside except not even air. It's like sucking the air out of a plastic bag. That's how I can explain it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Okay.
he had to go to work, so I said, "Well, call our niece, and she can come and babysit." She was 16 herself. So when she came in, I was already around the bowl. I was just lying on the floor in the bathroom waiting for my next time. And finally, I said, "You know what, Nola? Walk me to my room and wake me up in half an hour. I'm gonna be okay. I'm just gonna rest it out a bit. Stay with the baby." And as she's walking, I'm kind of seeing black spots at this point, but I'm thinking maybe I'm just fainting, right? Like sunstroke or something. I'm just fainting. And she's got me. And now it started the interesting story. I was in bed and I can hear her waking me up like this. I can see her. I can feel her. I can hear her, but I can't talk and I can't move. I couldn't turn myself. I couldn't do anything to show her I'm alive. And at this point, I can hear the terror in her voice, and she calls my husband, and she says, "I can't wake up Karina." And I can hear him on the phone expressing himself in ways that I can't talk about here. And I can hear the panic in his voice. But ironically, I was not panicked. I was not panicked at all, at all. It's weird. I felt very peaceful, very comfortable. And he says, "Call 911." She calls 911, and my in laws and her parents lived 5 minutes away. So she called her parents to come over. And at this point, there's 6 people in the house. Before the ambulance showed up, trying to like wake me up to say something, nothing is happening. And as what I'm hearing is that Kamina has foam to the mouth. 911 guys come, but at this point, I know that I was kind of drifting in and out of coma, and I don't remember when they put me on the chair. I don't remember anything in the bedroom. What I do remember is that in the hallway, I had a console table with a glass top, and I remember at that point, for a fraction of a second, just thinking, "Gee, I hope they don't drop me," and I fell back asleep. They don't drop me on the table, and I fell back
Mm.
asleep. I don't know how they brought me 4 flights of stairs downstairs. It's a good thing that I was out because I probably would have been scared shitless. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. So they brought me to hospital number one, and hospital number one is the one that I had gone to. They gave me a shot of the Dilaudil, thinking it was a muscle spasm. I forgot that part in between, Steve. I'm sorry about that. I was at the gym, went home. My husband said, go to the hospital. Went to the hospital. That's where I did the real throw up, and they gave me a shot of the Dilaudil, thinking I had a muscle spasm or something. Go back home. It and now you know the story. So we go to hospital number one, and um, they weren't equipped to help someone like me at that point. They sent me back to hospital number two, and they were definitely more proactive. Again, I'm drifting in and out of coma. I see what's going on. I hear what's going on. I just can't talk and move. My brain is fully functional. As they put me in the trauma room, they lay me down, and I can hear the nurses say, "Okay, we're gonna examine you. We're gonna put a catheter and everything." And I'm just lying. And then the second nurse is cutting my Lulu pants, and I'm thinking, "Oh no, not my Lulu pants." Well, you see where my brain was at the time. It was like thinking, "I'm gonna be fine, and I'm gonna have to buy new pants." And then I hear they're taking my jewelry, they're doing everything, and I can hear the doctors talking and saying, "We're going to do a spinal tap." I'm no doctor and I don't know, but these symptoms, I don't know, a spinal tap sounded pretty invasive and unrelated, but they did it. And again, I'm drifting in and out of coma. And my husband was 6'1", and they were wheeling me from one room to the next, but on the same floor. And as they're wheeling, I can see in the hallway that they're talking to my mother and husband. And this is a story that my mother had to tell me because too much was going on for me at that point. But the way my mom said it is that she never saw a grown man crumble like that. Um, that the doctors came to them and they said, "We think she had a stroke." And at that point, they were also not equipped for me. So they sent me to the best hospital here in Montreal, which is the Montreal Neurological, where they found the diagnosis. I can tell you from being there for a month and a half, they are amazing. They are professional. I had a brainstem dissection, and my husband explained that all the doctors that came to him and explained what was going on with me didn't have a lot of hope. Said that again, I this is not politically correct, but this is the way he told me, and this is the way I'm telling you. Doctors had told him that I would either be, um, I would die, or I would remain a, lack of better word, I would remain a vegetable in bed, and I would, yeah. So that was like you have 50 million things that are going through your mind. I'm guessing at that point for him, I'm putting myself in his shoes. On my part, when we got there, again, I'm drifting in and out of coma, and I remember right away they put me in a CT scan. They put me in the MRI. The other hospitals didn't. They did. And again, in the MRI, I was like they had to put me sideways because I was throwing up. So there was I don't know about these symptoms. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, a lot of your podcasts, a lot of your stories of your guests, and I've heard the migraines, I've heard the stars, but I have not heard the throwing up part. I don't know what that was about. So anyway, so that is the story of the diagnosis. And it's been a very uphill battle. It's been a very uphill battle. I had a trach. I call it my permanent jewelry. And I remember the doctors standing over me. There was two guys, and they said, we're gonna make a hole in your throat to help you breathe. And they knew I couldn't talk, but they said blink once for yes and twice for no. So obviously I blinked once. I understood. And when I came back to, when I was capable of talking, when I was corked, I did ask why, what made them think that I needed to be intubated. And they said that they saw from my body language that I was gasping for air. I was like squeezing the air out of my lungs, if you will. So that's why this happened. Um, Fine motor skills, none. Took 5 people to get me out of bed the first time, to put me in that wheelchair that has a base, a neck rest, excuse me. Took 5 people, and it was when I said that I was like a marshmallow melting before, at this point, I was a melted marshmallow. And first thing, everything I did in the gym, forget about it. Everything I did before, forget about it. At this point, they brought me to physiotherapy. I think on day 2, that I was awake. That I was awake. I was 4 days behind the curtain in the ICU, and from them they wheeled me into my room where I stayed a month and a half, give or take a few days. And when I woke up, what's funny is that I thought immediately that the hospital people were the bad guys. Go figure. And they were complotting against me. And I said, I got to get out. And I still don't know what happened to me, right? And I tried to flip the blankets over me to get out of bed. Didn't happen. So finally, a nurse came by, and she said, "Oh, you're awake." I guess they all say that. And she said, obviously, I couldn't ring the bell, right? So the first thing that kind of, I say, defrosted on me, if you will, is my right foot. I'm a right-handed person, and everything on the right is like super powerful. So she put the belt near my foot, and she wanted me to use that. And like I said, the next day they brought me to physio. My abs were completely deflated. I could not hold myself standing up, sitting up straight. So that is the very first thing that they taught me, is how to sit and how to maybe just bring that forward motion. Then I had to meet with the occupational therapist of the hospital. Then I had to meet everything, the PT, the OTs, the speech therapist. But obviously, at that point, I'm not talking. I really went into speech therapy when I went into rehab. So, like I said, I stayed a month and a half. It was very peaceful, the event. The event, believe it or not, was extremely peaceful. It's when I came back to the things, because now I was even more conscious, more aware of what's going on. I would see people crying and tears and hearing everything, and talking about me like I was a mourner, or so it became very stressful. It was like, oh shit, what am I gonna do? Like, wow. So the when my daughter came, that was very hard. Like it's hard for her to see her mom lying there. She didn't recognize me. I had lost so much weight in a very few days at that point. Um, and she was obviously scared, seeing all these wires sticking out of me. And so it was a very unpleasant, probably traumatic for her. And I apologize for that. So,
How are,
yes,
no, carry on, carry on.
yes. So, I ended in ICU, and then I ended up in live-in rehab for another 6 weeks, another month and a half. And I was lucky enough that it was a brand new facility here in Montreal, and they had state-of-the-art stuff, and that's when the work. You see, when I was in the hospital, because I was at the mercy of all the doctors, nurses, and everybody, I was a victim, right? It happened to me. Why? And this is what's going on around me. When you start asking why, that's when that's for me. That's when the victim mode comes in, and I don't like that. But when I got to rehab, now that was the Karina I knew. because I became a beast. I became a survivor. I became a thriver. I became a fighter. You see, I decided in the hospital within that month and a half in ICU that I was not going to give up. That I was not, I don't know how it was going to happen, but it was going to happen. There was no if, ands, or buts. I was going to survive this. And I really worked hard. It was interesting in rehab. Um, the fine motor skills. I had a lot of spination affected on my left side, which is why my dress is falling right now because my shoulder is smaller. Um, yes, I have a lot of spination, meaning that I go in an outward motion. So both my arm and my leg. I remember the first thing I asked in physiotherapy. And this, Steve, is like, wow. First thing I asked in physiotherapy, because I was corked at that point, they removed the trach from my throat when I left from ICU to rehab. And I was closed off, so I could actually talk like this, very low. And I asked if the PT could teach me how to drag myself safely to the floor so I could play with my daughter. And it seemed like I had so much love and so much beauty and things in my life at the time. But the only thing that I constantly cried about is her, is Angie. And I never asked why. I would hear my husband say why. I would hear the people say, why did this happen to her? I would hear why. I never said why. Why did this happen to me? I never did. Never. No. It happened. It happened. I knew that at that point. Why cry over spilled milk? The stroke happened. Okay, what am I going to do about it at this point? That's how my brain has worked the whole time. That's how I managed to survive all these years. So, I'm not going to give you a play-by-play, if that's okay with you. That is the main story. But I would like to focus the interview on my emotional rehab. I think physical rehab can be done anybody can learn physical rehab if you have that mental strength. And I was already from that background. So for me, working out, lifting little cubes and little weights for me was normal. What was very hard was the emotional side of things that they don't talk to you in the hospital about. They don't prepare you for
Right.
that. It's evident that the very first thing that they do the best for you is to help you regain mobility, which is why we do PT first, right? But they don't tell you the difficulties you're going to have communicating with your family and friends, aka your spouse. They don't teach you that you're going to have mental breakdowns and you're going to have character changes, and they don't teach you how to deal with that. And
Yeah. Yeah.
throughout my survival, I told you before, I never asked why. I decided in the ICU that I was going to be a fighter. So I obviously had a very strong mindset right off the bat. From a very young age, I have events that happened in my young age that made me do that decision. But seemed like so many people around me, as I was getting better and better over 24 years, people around me wanted me to remain a victim, wanted me to remain poor Karina. It, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that it happened to me. But you know what? 2 months after I came back home, I'm weaving my story to you, Steve. I'm going in and out. That's how my brain works. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
I'm sitting in the backyard, and now it's 2 months that I'm back home after rehab, though. Okay, I got my discharge. I'm officially home. And I'm sitting on the deck in the backyard and I'm looking at my daughter. And all I can do is look, right? I can't play ball with her at that moment, and I'm looking at her and I have this big tear, just a silent tear falling. And it's like a brick fell on my hand and said, holy shit, I survived. I lived this. I'm here now. I got a second chance.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
no lie, man. That's what I thought.
Mm.
And
So
from that moment on, I prioritized being the best new Karina I could be. You see, when we have a stroke, and it's not because I'm a coach now, Steve. It's not because I'm a coach and that I can tell you about the letting go, but I have a podcast episode. I'm not here to promote my podcast. I'm here to tell you my story, but I do have an episode because it is the most important. Letting go. Letting go of the old you because when a stroke happens, okay, imagine this. You're reading a book. What happens? You're reading a page, you turn the page. Yes? It's the same thing.
mm,
In page number one, I was alive. Going to page number two, I was dead. A stroke kind of makes you dead at some point, whether in your heart, in your mind, or in your body, right? Let's be real.
yeah.
But then if I turn the other page, I'm alive again. And I get to write the script of that story.
Mm, mm.
I get to write the script of that story. And
And have you written a book? Have you written a book?
um no, the answer is not yet.
Well,
The answer
why
is not yet.
why don't why don't you?
Um I can easily answer that actually. When I came back home from rehab and hospital, that was my thing. Oh man, I gotta write a book. But I was in survival mode, Steve. I was in survival mode for 24 years, 23, okay? Where I was not at peace. There was always, I talk about alignment, right? And how can I write a book if I'm not complete yet?
Yeah,
Now I'm complete. Now it's time. Now it's
yeah,
time for me to write that book. I feel I'm
yeah.
ready for it. But
Because you have got a wonderful story, right?
thank you.
You
Thank you.
you got a wonderful story, and you're a wonderful person, and a lot of people will probably want to listen to your story. And if you do it in a book form, I remember when I had a stroke. I find it difficult. I had three strokes altogether. And it was tough. And I've written a book. I've got my own book out. And the trouble is,
Exactly.
you got to kind of like say to yourself now is
Yep,
yes,
I agree.
I got to a point now in my life where I'm going to tell everybody, and
Mhm.
you that's probably why you got a podcast now. It's because you want to get your podcast out there and
Yeah,
share it to everybody, don't you?
absolutely, sir. Absolutely. 100%. I wasn't ready back then. I was in survival mode of these years. I was still looking for Karina, but right now I have huge plans, Steve. But I'm primarily my full-time job is being a coach. I'm a trauma survival coach.
Yeah,
So I help you. You remember that healing part that I mentioned to you beforehand that the hospital don't tell us about?
yeah,
And well, I'm here.
yeah.
I'm here. You know what? Because I know I sympathize, I empathize with survivors that are struggling, and I get so many questions and so many DMs, and it's always the same question that's coming back. It's on the emotional side,
I
which
watched
tell
your I watched your I watches your podcast and I watch what you do on Facebook because you do
Yes, I
things.
know. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for being a supporter. Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think you're doing a wonderful job to reach out there to different people, and you are kind of like really ambassador to everybody. And
Thank you.
the trouble is, what you've got to start doing now is that this is what I think. What you've got to start doing is saying to yourself, I this is me. This is me. I've been through all the
100%.
I've been through all the bad stuff and all the all the crap in my life, and I've had a stroke, and I'm lucky. I'm really lucky that I got through it.
Yeah,
And you've got to start kind of like sometimes we live in the past. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
we've
yes.
got to start living in the future. You know what I mean? Because you got a family. You need to kind of like say to your family, yes, I'm going to kind of like start kind of enjoying my life now, and you because you're married, you got children, you got a wonderful life, haven't you?
I can tell you, Steve, if I can just give you a little thing. I was married for 12 years with my then husband. We grew apart over the years for X, Y, and Z reasons. Um, as stroke survivors, now I have so much respect and empathy for caregivers because I know that I wasn't easy. I know that I was frustrated, that I had tons of attitude. I could be very funny. Oh my lord! And I'm me. I'm Karina, right? But I wasn't easy to live with. So
Right,
I have a lot of respect for that, and I have a lot of respect for the people that reach out to me and that ask. So no, I am divorced from him, like I said. And a part of why I took that decision, Steve, is that I felt like I was in a tug of war, that I was
right,
fighting with a ghost, that I was fighting because they had the other Karina on such high level. Um, they had expected. I was 25. He was older. He was a businessman. I had a very busy social life. Grace was like a lot of fun and a lot of events. And I won't call myself a trophy wife, but read between the lines. And at this point, I'm different. When the stroke
mm,
happened, something clicked in me. And I constantly felt for all these years that I was in battle with these people that wanted me to stay, Karina. And it's like, no, this is who I am.
yeah,
And I got
yeah,
tired of that. I got
yeah,
tired of not being, I felt like a fish out of water, of
yeah,
not being able to be who I am now.
yeah,
So that
yeah.
was one of the big reasons why.
Do you know?
Uh,
Do you know what? Do you know what? Do you know what I love about you is that every time I go onto your Facebook or what and other things, and you're there kind of like telling everybody about your experience about stroke and everything. It's not just all about you. You're trying to get your word out there. You're trying to tell people
yeah,
about the stroke, about the survival, about everything. And
I don't.
to me, when I watch that, I'm thinking, oh, what a woman! She is kind of like
Sweet,
telling
thank you.
telling people, that there is hope.
As you see, I'm writing because I'm listening to you and I'm writing, and I don't want to forget what. But yes, there is hope. My God, Steve, you got it. You got
Mm,
it. You got the essence of me. I'm all about empowering and inspiring people that if I can do it, you can too. Right?
mm.
It all comes from a
Never give up.
decision. It comes from a decision. I don't have a hidden agenda. I love what you just said right now, and that's what I wrote. Because I am not doing this for myself. I'm here. I'm happy.
Mm.
I'm the
Have
happiest
you, ever,
now.
have you have you ever seen The Greatest Showman,
No, I did not.
the film? Now, The Greatest Showman, right, is a good film, and what it is in that film is about different people from all walks of life. You know,
Okay.
some people could be really nice. There's people that, well, that they come from a background of people not liking them, or they're disabled, or and you've got all these people. And what happens is this person, I can't remember what his name now. The DiCaprio, wasn't it? No, not DiCaprio.
Hugh
Somebody,
Jackman?
Hugh Jackman. Now, Hugh Jackman played the person in the circus, and he thought to himself, well, instead of me getting all these other people in, what he's going to do, he'll get every person that is different from all walks of life, you know. And
That's
and the trouble is, what we do is we judge people so much on their color, their
yeah.
disability, their, if they had a stroke, relationships, right? And and in the end, there's one thing what I liked about him was he accepted them for who they are,
I
and that's
love
what
it.
we,
See if I'm gonna watch this. I love it, man. You and I are on the same wavelength. Yes. You have to
yeah,
accept yourself.
yeah, we need to accept ourselves. We can then we move forward. Then we can start helping everybody else.
Yeah, because acceptance is healing, right? I've thought back to my whole life and thinking, how did I do it? You know, I had to sit down at one time. I had a conference to do, and I had to tell my life story, not just this story, but I had to tell my life story. I had 2 hours, you know, and I had to be real with myself and not sugarcoat anything. And I did my stories and the different chapters of my book. And you know what? There's three common denominators that showed up. I acknowledge, I call it the three A's. I acknowledge that things happen and I was not in denial. Because when you're in denial, you resist. And what you resist persists, right? The second A is acceptance. I accepted. I accepted it is what it is. But now I have a question. I have another A. Action. What am I going to do about it? Acceptance and actions that go together. Because once you've accepted, you do have a choice to either stay where you're at in your comfort zone or in your bad comfort zone, or you take action to do at least 1% better. So acknowledge, accept, and action. And this is the way I notice that my whole life has been. That my whole life, there's a lot. I don't know if what you know about me, but there's a lot that you don't know about me probably. And it's hard. It's hard to sit down and tell yourself your own truth.
Yeah,
So you know what? The stroke allowed me to really wake up and think of my childhood and think of my past and okay, now what am I gonna do? It's like a do or die, right? And the funny thing is, I'm someone who believes that nothing happens for no reason. There's always a reason behind it. And ironically, my stroke was in the brainstem. And ironically, the fight or flight is located in the brainstem. The emotional baggage that we have is located in the brainstem. So it is no surprise to me that that is the kind of stroke that I had. because I had to deal with my things. And
Mm,
all my
mm,
life, I had that fight or flight. All my life, all my life. And I
mm,
can honestly tell you that it's only been in the past year. My life has changed, and it's only been in the. If my life goes good now, it's on me. If my life goes bad right now, it's on me.
yeah, we only can blame ourselves for our failures, isn't it? Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. We
What
can
was
only.
your what What was your childhood like?
Not good. Beautifully traumatic. My childhood. Um, I don't think I had a childhood, to be honest with you, because I was in a flight or fight. My mom married when I was 6, and her husband. Well, I'm a survivor of physical, mental, emotional, and sexual abuse from that particular man. All the while this was happening multiple times to me. My mom had her own story, which is not mine to tell. Um, and then I married. I was 21, thinking I would never have to think of my past again, think of my childhood again. I was saved, and it's not the case because then I had the stroke. So I have one sister, if you want to know. I have one sister that I grew up with that I am not completely estranged from, but we are very different. And she also has a story and lived hers differently than mine. And we all deal with it differently. I chose to deal with mine in in what was good for me.
Yeah, yeah,
And she chose to go the opposite way because that's what's good for her. Is it good? I don't know, but it's not my story, right? I only have control over what goes on in my life, in me. And when I got married, or rather when I was engaged, oh, I felt such love and finally peace and quiet. And I didn't have to worry. I didn't have that fight or flight for 2 years before the stroke, between the engagement and the stroke. And I was so well taken care of and so protected. And I think that that's what I needed. And I'm not a religious person, but I am a believer. You asked me about my childhood, and again, totally ironic here. But my stepfather raised us with a Bible in one hand and a gun and a knife in the other hand. You know,
right.
so it was so. But the good thing about him is that he brought my spiritual belief, and that held me for a long time. So
Did it
I'm
help you?
okay.
Did it help you get through your life journey as it is now?
Yes, actually, a lot. Um, a lot, a lot. I would definitely walk, go for walks for hours on end, and talk to a higher power.
Mm,
And and I I didn't feel alone, but I felt alone because I was here, right? I knew that the higher power for me was not here physically, and I had all these things to deal with, right? But yes, it helped. It helped calm me at that time, and it helped calm me again um, in my teens. It helped calm me before with the man I was with before I got engaged. You know what? People say misery likes company, and what happens if you're not the company that misery wants? I was
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
interested in all that crap. I was not interested. You see, my mom carried her baggage, and my mom was not interested. Yet she was living it day by day by day, the same thing. Even after, like years after he was in jail and everything, my mom was traumatized in her way. My sister was traumatized in her way. They were not. My mom wasn't at peace,
Mm.
and my sister too. But I am at peace. And right now, having my podcast, having you guys on Facebook, giving me positive reinforcement. Um, a lot of people don't understand my journey, what I've been through, and what I want to help people. So I think I think this society now has become as in I'm taking care of myself and I can't take care of anybody else. I'm sorry, I'm an empath by nature. And I love people. I come from a place of service and a place of love. That's who I am. Now, I could not realize that over all
Yeah.
those years because I was discovering, I was building who I am. But now that I know my foundation, I know how I am, I wouldn't want to be any other way. So
Great. Yeah.
at the beginning of our interview, you mentioned, or rather, I mentioned, um, that without the stroke, I would not be here. So now you understand
Mm.
why I'm saying that. Without my
Yeah.
childhood, I wouldn't be here. Without my past experiences with men, I would not be here.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be doing the things, and I wouldn't want, and I have big plans. I'm not just stopping at being a coach and a podcaster. I see, if I look further, I see conventions. I see talking to public. I see making a difference. I want to make a difference. I want to bring
Well,
awareness, not
well,
just on the. I'm
yeah.
sorry, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're having a conference in the UK in September.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
a conference
So,
about.
well, about people's lives. It could be anything really, and we're having that in the UK in September, and
I'd be more than happy to help out in any way I can. Just let me know.
okay,
You
okay,
have my information, and if it's doing stuff one on one, if it's sharing a specific part of my life story that you know about that you want me to talk about, anything that you need me, I'm gladly helping you.
okay, brilliant. Thank you so much.
Put
Well,
me on the list. Put me on the
yeah,
list.
I will put you on the list. I will. I would definitely put you on the list. And also, we're always looking for percentages for people to join our team.
Okay.
And yeah, so we're always looking for people. So if you know anybody, and what they do is it's an hour spot every week. Um, so they get an hour spot and they can talk about what they want on our platform.
Okay.
And all right, so
I do
if you
have
know,
two people in mind right now.
okay, you let me know. Okay,
Yes,
there
sir.
is there is a little charge on that because we are like a charity type thing. So
Yes.
all our money goes back into, and I think it's like 60. Um, is it 60? Is it? Yeah, 60. It's £60 a year for that. So
Okay. And
and
that's to be a team member in the team of Stroke
crossroads,
Stories
crossroads, yeah.
on
So you
Crossroads.
get
Okay.
yeah. So what happens is you get your own show. You get your own show. You get kind of like get all the advertising done for you, and you will get your own platform, and you get logos and everything. You get your own logo, and it
Okay, so
goes out to
all you
everybody.
do is
Then
you
it
bring
goes out onto the
content. Got
radio.
it. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
All right.
It's called Crossroads,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Crossroads Podcast UK.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna
I
look it
think
up.
we're like. Yeah. I think I'll send you the links. I think we're number three at the moment in the chart in the podcast chart. I think we are. I'm not really
You know
sure.
what, Steve? It was such a surprise when I found out that I was even on the list because I was always looking at the 15 most popular podcasts. And my friend is over last October. So I started my podcast in March of last year. And my friend is over in October. And as I'm scrolling, and I'm telling you, this is what I want to be. This is the list I want to be on. And as I'm scrolling up, I'm not looking, but I'm scrolling up, and she says, "Hey, Karina, isn't that your logo?" And I'm thinking, son of a, they stole my logo, and I loved my logo, right? And then I see my name next to it, and at the time I was on the eighth position.
Mm.
So it was a great surprise. I never expected that. So just that is a beautiful gift. And my goal was to make this my mission in my podcast is to make one person in the world feel better about their situation, and this validated that I am making a difference.
You definitely are. You definitely are. Katrina, thank you so much for joining me. That
Thank you
you,
for having me.
it's been a pleasure to know you, and and it's nice to talk to you. You've got a wonderful story, and as I keep on saying, never ever look back because at the end of the day, if you look back, there's nothing. Forward
Absolutely.
is something, and you know what that something is?
Yep.
That something is you. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. And it's you as well, by the way.
Okay. You take care.
Thank you so much for having me, Steve. Thank you.
Bye for now. Bye for now.
Bye. Bye.
Bye bye. I'm finding it tough to get on. It's the I like inspirational stories like that. It's really good.